Look at that.
Hello, world.
Hello, world. Oh, I'm inverted on Twitch. Oh, I don't like that. We are live. So hello to everyone in chat. Welcome back to Quest Markers. So on this show, we talk about video games and the stories they tell. I'm Marina. I'm a video game composer, vocalist, audio engineer, and your host. And today we are back with the one and only Blue, who is a game dev. I'll let you introduce your discipline in a moment, because I'd love to pick your brain and we can, to the extent that you're comfortable, we can analyze some of these games through the lens through which you work. But
Yeah.
I'm so excited to have you back on the show. In this episode, we're going to be talking about games that we're currently playing, games that we want to play this year, and a quick spoiler warning. This episode will be timestamped if you're watching this on YouTube, so feel free to skip around if there's a game that you don't want to be spoiled on. I guess this goes for everyone except folks who are here with us live on Twitch. And this is our very first live episode, which is really exciting. So we are live on Twitch right now. You might be watching the VOD on YouTube or listening on your podcast platform of choice, but regardless of where and when you're watching, thank you so much for being here. I hope that you enjoy the show. If you are in chat on Twitch, we do have emote-only chat turned on to help us focus, but I'll turn that off at the end. And I'll talk more about the show's changes at the very end of the episode. But without further ado, Blue, how are you staying hydrated?
Hello. I have 2 drinks. I'm dual wielding. I have.
I love it.
Get used to us dissolving into laughter.
Yeah,
This is how we communicate.
Absolutely.
I have like half a cup of cold decaf black tea.
Ooh,
It's actually
cool
really
cup.
good. It's it's
a really
like
cool cup.
You can kind of see the tea bag if I tilt a little too far, but it's nice. It was a gift for Christmas. I like it because it's actually quite large. You can fit a lot of tea in here. I am a tea person. And then I have my water bottle, and it's got like some magnet with Final Fantasy guys on there. That's very good. Yeah.
Is it iridescent or is that just the light?
No, that is because I have a lamp next to me.
Okay, got it.
So it is.
I still love it.
Yeah.
I love it. I get my mug's a little bit different. I don't know if it's fancy. I've just got coffee.
I think it's fancy.
Nothing new. But yeah, I got this mug a few years ago and it has survived moves. It's survived a lot. So yeah, I do have just, coffee.
You're loyal.
I gotta be on brand.
Yeah. Is it decaf?
No, and it is currently the evening. It is past 6 p.m. where I am. So
yeah. Oh, you're living life on the edge, my friend.
I'm truly living life on the edge. I used to be able to have coffee and fall asleep okay when I was like 18, but definitely not anymore. I don't have water. I was gonna grab, actually, I have a little bit of water.
You have a little droplet.
Never mind. I just have coffee.
You have the idea of water.
I do. I have the idea of water. I don't have water.
I'm so sorry.
It's okay. I got coffee. That's more important. Blue, would you mind introducing yourself? You've been on the show a couple times, though, so I'm so excited.
I have. I'm honored to be back. You have seen me on the show before in podcast audio only form. I have joined as Ren, but I've started to go by Blue online because it's fun, it's fresh, it's different. I'm Blue. It's nice to see you all. It's good to be on Marina's stream on Quest Markers, IRL somewhat, with video. Yeah, it feels IRL to me because I get to see your face.
Yeah, exactly.
But yeah, I am a game dev friend of Marina's. I work in video game localization and LQA. So what that means, if you're not familiar with localization, is we take games that have been made in a different language other than the language that we're trying to translate a game into. And we look at the game for sensitivity reasons. We look at the game for just logic reasons. And we translate all the strings in the game into a different language. And the LQA part comes in because in some languages, especially character-based languages, you'll have like labels and other things that are like 2 or 3 characters long. And then you switch it to English or you switch it to a European language and suddenly it's like 17 characters long, and it's like bleeding out of the area where the button's supposed to be. And so my team also goes back in and makes sure things are not like overhanging the space that they need to be in. We make sure that voiceover actually makes sense. We make sure things are named properly, and like the right verb goes in the right spot, the right noun goes in the right spot. It's at the end of the line of a lot of game development. So our timelines are tight. We work really quickly. My team is not a large team, but we all work really hard and we have a lot of fun together. So I've been doing this for about 3 years now. Actually, yeah, it will be 3 years at the end of February.
It
Yeah.
will be. Oh my goodness. Yeah, I remember when you started.
Yeah. Yeah. Time flies.
Whoa. It feels
Yeah.
shorter and longer somehow.
Yeah. Yeah. It feels like I've been doing this for a lot longer, but at the same time, I still like there's so much that I haven't done. I still need to learn.
Whoa. Whoa. Okay, I'm having a moment. Also, hello everyone who's joining in chat. We won't be paying much attention to chat, but we will open it up. It is emote only right now. We will be opening it up at the end.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness, 3 years. Tell me, I have so many questions, and I'm going to use this opportunity at some point today to talk about how the localization in Final Fantasy XIV is done so well. But
yes,
let's actually just like get into the show. What are you currently playing?
yes. No, I'm super excited to talk about this. So with one of our friends, I've been playing a game. I'm not sure how to pronounce it because within the game itself, they pronounce it multiple ways. But I call it Solasta, Crown of the Magister. Could also be Solasta. We don't know if it's a long A or a short A. Could go either way. It's really fun. The name of the genre escapes me right now, but it's very similar to Baldur's Gate, where you're playing a campaign with a party that's like very D&D style turn-based combat. It's a ton of fun. It was made with a pretty low budget from what I am aware of. So there's some bugs. There's a little bit of bugs there. And as somebody who does a little bit of QA, it brings a lot of joy. But there was also something about it that I thought you might find really fun because it relates to how you love to think about games and their narrative structures and how it works together as a game. Because all in the game, it comes together and forms a lot of what is called ludonarrative dissonance, where I know it's such a cool concept. My friend introduced it to me. It just introduces like this disconnect between the themes of the game, the gameplay, and then the story, right? So in like the simplest case, which I see a lot of in Solasta, is you'll just come into a chamber and you have a meeting with the princess, and she's like standing in the chair. Like she's not sitting on the chair, she's standing in the chair. Her legs are going through the chair.
Oh, okay. I was going to say, sometimes you just got to stand on a chair, but standing in a chair, I think would be painful.
No,
never mind.
She's in the chair. Her little legs are cut off. And so you're trying to take this ruler of a area seriously, this diplomat, and her legs are going through a chair.
I kind of love that though.
It adds this element of comedy to it that is just peak. It's why I keep going back to the game. It's really good.
I love that. But I guess like, I mean, we've worked on games together, like in a programming capacity, and it is so impossible. It is impossible to create a game that is going to be bug free. And at that point, yes, it's a lot of it is very technical of like, how do we squash these bugs? But so much of it is production of like, how do we prioritize this? What's the severity? What is seriously going to impact the player experience? What's the probability of it happening? And then you kind of have to make a call as a team based off of your budget. Like, what are we going to go and what bugs are we going to attempt to squash? Which are the ones that will happen like 1 in a billion times that, we just can't prioritize. So it's game dev is this impossible situation sometimes where it's like, all right, there's a lot to do and we got to find creative solutions and we have to prioritize.
It's so true. It's so true. I see it a lot at work because I work on a lot of live service games, and those deadlines are hard because the patch has to go out, at the stated time. So very much a triaging situation where you're like,
Mhm.
well, we covered the shop, we covered the dialogue. Do we have time to make sure nobody's legs are going through chairs? No. We
Yeah,
got to send it
that's
out.
it.
We got to send it out. Yeah.
That's it. Yeah. I mean, I have so much empathy for the work that you do because to your point, it is at the very, very end of the process. And it's like you have these deadlines. How do we prioritize in a way that's going to be really thoughtful? So yeah.
I'm
But yeah,
nodding
you're
so hard
right.
I'm
Yeah.
shaking my camera. That's how emphatic I am about this. Yes.
Well, it sounds like fun.
It's actually
It
very
sounds great.
you find the levity in it
Mm.
because I would say probably the hardest part was actually testing games kind of destroyed my relationship with games for a solid like 6 months
Mm.
because the things that I would go to for relaxation and escape were also at work. Um, but over time, I feel like I repaired that relationship with games by playing games in lots of different genres, trying all sorts of things. And then also just like you said, like you find the levity in it, you find the joy. You come back to this idea of like I get to do this thing that I love for a living.
Mm.
And um, you find these great bugs like animals ascending into the sky for no reason. Things like that. It's
You love to see
wonderful.
it.
You love to see it. Yeah. But yeah.
I feel that way sometimes with music where I get very analytical and I'm like, oh, how long is this track? And when are they looping
Mm.
it? And how long am I meant to be in this area reasonably as a player? And how long is the music? And does it get repetitive if it loops too much? And how are they doing any vertical music sequencing and how? And yeah, I
Mhm.
definitely get very analytical. I have not yet been robbed of the joy of playing games.
That's
But
good.
I'm scared of it. I am definitely scared of it. And for folks who don't know, vertical music resequencing is this idea that um, especially actually if you've written music in any digital capacity, like everything is just layers. And I think a great example of Near Automata is a great example of a game that does vertical music sequencing well because you could be in the overworld and you have the music playing without percussion, and then you go into battle and the same music plays, but the percussion kicks in, and so you get this really beautiful, smooth experience where you're like, oh, okay, I can feel the energy. Like something's happening. What's happening? Oh, I aggroed something, or oh, I'm in battle, or whatever. So it's this concept of we can add layers, instruments and layers of music. We can take them away based off of what's appropriate. Anyway, there's a lot of different ways to kind of think about music design, but luckily, I don't think that I've been at that point yet where I'm like analyzing things so much that I can't enjoy something. But
Yeah, no, that's real. I think it's a very valid fear, but also like I'm glad that you've never like had to pull yourself like back from that edge. And
mm,
also like the vertical, what was it called?
music resequencing.
Vertical music resequencing. I'm learning. I'm so excited. If you enjoy that, it's reminding me of another game I played a while ago. And I haven't finished the sequel, but Octopath Traveller has one of like
Oh yeah.
yeah, it has one of the best musical experiences I've ever had in games where like you'll be in a cutscene and then like the music will just kind of swell like you described and they'll
Mm.
add layers to it and then you're in like the boss battle. It's just I'm not doing it justice with that description, but like that's a really good example of what you're just describing.
Mm. It's funny you mentioned Octopath Traveler because I've never played the game and I know the music from Octopath Traveler. So it's one of those where it's like, yeah, the soundtrack is so amazing. I need to play it at some
Yeah,
point. Is it going to be a 2025 game? I don't know. What's
could
the
be.
story about?
Oh, okay. I love this game. I'm one of the few people that I know who actually beat the whole thing. Like there's like a
Oh,
whole thing to beat. Yes. Okay, I'll get into it.
okay.
I wasn't expecting to talk about it, but I'm thrilled. Um it's the story of 8 different travelers. They're spread out over like a whole I think it's like 2 continents, 2 or 3 continents. And they all come together and they're just like traveling around and all 8 of them have different stories of about 4 chapters each that they need to complete. And one of the main criticisms of the game was that their stories don't really overlap. And that's true for the most part for the first like half of their stories because they're all just kind of like doing their thing. It was the first game in the series, so the writers hadn't quite figured out how to make the mechanics of everything mesh together. Um, you have characters in 8 different roles. They have 8 jobs, and their stories are like drastically different. You have this warrior who's like trying to avenge a fallen country. You have an
Mm.
apothecary who's like trying to grapple with this sense of responsibility he has over healing and like death and like right and wrong. You get this really cute story about a merchant who just wants to like go to the biggest auction like in the world. Like it's super cute. Her story's really cute. You get really dark stories about like a thief, a dancer. The classes are cool, and then you can also have each character pick up a second class, and then there's like secret classes you can get towards the end of the game. It's really cool. It's a like you have parties of 4, turn-based combat. The art is it's like 8-bit. And it's like flat, like, but it's also 3D. So you have like these flat characters walking around a 3D world. I loved it. It takes a lot of investment. It's a grind. It's a huge grind. You're always like grinding and leveling up.
Interesting.
But
that's like a late 90s game is like you grind.
Yeah, it's like Pokemon. It reminded me a lot of Pokemon because like you have to be a certain level to go to the next stage, and then it's like a gym battle. So if that's your jam, highly recommend it.
I just and then there's for the music.
You would absolutely love the music because the seamlessness of the music is just like it's like no other game I've ever played. It is so cool. I think about that game a lot, and I played it like more years ago than I care to admit because it'll tell people how old I am. But I played it when it first came out, and I played it a lot. And my only critique of it, which they fixed in the sequel, was it's valid to say that the stories don't really overlap. And then to like truly complete the story, you have to like find this random woman and complete this series of quests to find the actual final boss. It's like very, very strange. It's relying on the fact that you look things up about it.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah. But
I don't know if I'm a fan of that, but
I would say if it's not your gameplay style, you might get the same enjoyment from watching the cutscenes and watching somebody else play it. I wouldn't say it's one of those games where engaging with the mechanics is a requirement to enjoy the narrative.
Okay.
Yeah.
I do like turn-based combat though. So that's appealing. And what you described about the narrative is very appealing. Like the 8 stories kind of coming together. I like that a lot.
I would say play the sequel. You actually don't miss out a whole lot on much. It's a steeper introduction because there's more mechanics. In the sequel, there's a day and night cycle that you have to be mindful of. But the stories in that one are super compelling too. It's the same 8 jobs, but different people doing them. And I've really enjoyed what I've played of it so far.
Cool. I got to add that to my never-ending backlog.
Just throw it in the queue.
Just throw it on there. I just streamed the other day, just organizing my backlog. I'll send it to you afterwards. It's just a collage of just images of different games that I need to play. So
I can't wait to see. I'm picturing something with like very small images because it's just going to be so much.
Yeah, we just had to keep zooming out on Canva, where I was like, there's no room. I don't know.
Yeah. Don't know. Just make the canvas a little bigger.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. No stress.
That's so funny.
I'm trying to think what I've been playing.
Yeah, I want to hear about it.
I haven't started anything new since finishing Signalis a few weeks ago. Which Signalis was excellent. It was amazing. It's one of those games where afterwards I was like, I need to watch all the video essays and I need to understand what everyone's interpretation of the narrative is, because without spoiling it, so much of the narrative feels like it's not real and it feels like it's a dream or a memory. It's a pixel 3D survival horror game.
That's a combo. Oh my gosh.
It is. It's so good. So good. Very interesting mechanic with a radio that I won't spoil for folks who might be interested in playing it. The gameplay is very Resident Evil style of you have a safe room, you go and you save there and you manage your equipment there because you can only take 6 items with you. Or I guess up to 8, you can expand your inventory. But yeah, the whole time, the whole narrative, you're like, oh, I don't know if I'm quite following what's happening. And I think that that's intentional. And then there becomes a turning point where you're like, oh, I now understand what's happening. There's all these like little fragmented puzzle pieces that we have. And when it clicks, you're like, whoa.
That's the
It's
best.
so
The
good. It's
reveal.
so
Yeah.
it's so good. But yeah, and I've just been watching video essays on Signalis, but just wow, so good. Made by I think primarily 2 people, which is really impressive.
Wow.
Yeah, with I don't know, I don't. There's probably more, but primarily 2 people. I'm now not remembering exactly how big the team is, which like incredible,
A
but
small team,
small
regardless.
team. Yeah,
Yeah.
very small. And then I've been streaming Dark Souls 1, which has been great, chaotic, very fun. But I've mostly been playing Final Fantasy XIV, and I know that's such a meme with me. Like, yeah, I'm always playing Final Fantasy XIV, but I'm not even like really doing anything in game. I'm just gathering. I'm just going picking berries. Like
Wow.
that's all I'm doing. I just log on and I'm like, this is my chill time. Put my headphones on, and I'm gonna go level up my botanist so I can go gather some berries. And the quests
Amazing.
are really cute too. Like just so wholesome. You unlock a quest pretty early on where you're helping out a character open up an orphanage, and she's so funny and she's so well written, and her whole thing is like do it for the children, and but just the way that it's written is the comedic timing is excellent and the writing is excellent. And I wanted to ask you what you thought about the localization of 14, because
I have
I think
thoughts.
like I'm
Yeah.
so impressed by how clever the writing is. Some of the quest names are really clever, and they reference like pop culture, they reference songs and films and other games. Yeah, FF14 does it, I think, really, really well. I'd love your thoughts actually, because you're a relatively new-ish kind of FF14 enjoyer. Like
Within
in the
the
last,
past year,
yeah.
yeah. I've been looking at the number of days I've been subscribed, and it's less than a year, which blows my mind.
Really?
Yes. I
Oh
started
wow.
and then, like, took a break and then came
Hmm.
back, and it still hasn't been a year since I restarted. Yeah.
Oh wow. I wouldn't have thought.
Yeah, it's been quite a year. But yeah, to answer your question, also, every time you talk about the crafting classes, I'm like, "Man, I gotta start."
Yeah, it's so good.
It sounds so zen.
It's great.
It's so cool. Um, I would say, as somebody who's also worked on localization for MMOs, it is a massive undertaking to localize an MMO.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I mean, even a single player game, there's a lot of every single word you see has to be touched, right? Somebody has to review it and make sure it's going to make sense. And MMOs have so many branching quests, and they have so many, just the volume, the sheer volume. I've worked on, I'd say, like 3 or 4 MMOs at this point in my career, and it's almost one of those things where you look at it and you're like, can you give me a different game? Like that's a lot of work that's going to go
Mm.
into it. And I'm impressed because the level of polish that 14 has, it's like immaculate. Like I don't play games with the express goal of looking for bugs, because that kind of detracts from my enjoyment,
Mm.
because if I'm not at work, I don't want to do work,
Yeah,
right?
that's
Um,
reasonable.
I work really hard at work, and then I try to relax. Um, but like I think I've spotted maybe one, and it was like one small thing that I would point out maybe to somebody like on the side, and just the level of polish is immaculate. Like it's really well done. You can tell it's done with a lot of love and care. And knowing what I know about deadlines for live service games, the fact that they are able to put so many pop culture references that are like finding the balance between clever and current, but not memey. Like you're not going to see somebody
Mm-hmm.
in there like using slang from a meme that surfaced last week and is probably going to die in the next week, right?
Yeah.
You're not going to see those kinds of references in that game. It takes time for a translator to come up with that, and it takes time for them to think of one that fits the context. And with the volume of the MMO strings, um, you can tell that the people working on it really care.
Mm.
You can tell that it's done with a lot of love and attention and thoughtfulness. Um,
Mm.
and it's one of those things where you're even more drawn in because you see the level of care that went into it.
Mm.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I'm always
definitely.
impressed with the references. I think they're really clever.
They're great.
Yeah.
They're
Yeah.
really great. Um, but the reason I was surprised that you haven't played it for a year yet is because you're at Endwalker
I'm pretty much
in
almost
like
done with the
3
main
minutes,
story.
basically,
Yeah. Yeah.
which is amazing because you've done for reference for anyone who hasn't played FF14, which you should. I always say this. I'm like, this is not sponsored by Square Enix, but call me Square Enix. I will gladly keep talking about FF14. Um, for context, there's A Realm Reborn, Heavensward, Stormblood, Shadowbringers, and then Endwalker, and then Dawntrail. So you've played
Oh no.
ARR, Heavensward, Stormblood, Shadowbringers. That's 4 expansions. They're each about 50 hours ish. That's like just doing main story and like, waiting in queues for quests and
Yeah.
stuff.
No,
um,
I can't wipe the shock
excuse
off
me.
my face because I'm
Um,
like, that's so much time to spend. It's like getting to know a friend, you know?
yeah. Yeah, but I don't know. I think that maybe speaks to the level of craftsmanship and thoughtfulness that has been put into that game and the localization of that game and the story.
Mhm.
And I guess mild spoilers for Shadowbringers for anyone who's here, but in Shadowbringers you see stuff that happened like 150 hours ago start to come together and click, and it creates these narrative
Mhm.
moments where your jaw is on the floor because you're like, hold on. They planted this seed within the first 5 hours of ARR. And now 200 hours later, we're starting to see what has grown from that seed. And we're starting to put these puzzle pieces together. And again, it creates for me, it created so many moments where I put the controller down and I was thinking, and I was like, hold on, that happened at this point in time, but that was so long ago. Like, how did they keep track of all of this as a writing team
Yeah.
is really, really impressive.
Yeah. They planted the seed and you are rewarded for participating in the
Mm,
story. Yeah.
mm-hmm.
It
Yeah.
creates that trust in the player where you're like, "Oh, like this is going to be worth it."
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I think it's a really good payoff, but I'm so biased. As you go into Endwalker, it's so interesting having played it now because I started playing right after Endwalker came out. And so
Mhm.
my big thing was always like, oh, I'm never going to get to Endwalker. And then similar to you, I speed ran the shit out of the game because the narrative is so good. And I don't
Yeah.
know about you, but like I grew up playing MMOs, but I was playing MMOs that no one else was playing because I was that kid. I was like, this is
What were
too
you playing?
mainstream.
What
I
were
I
Now I have
played
to know.
hold on, I'm gonna Google it really quickly because I
Okay.
think it's still online. I just don't want to get the name wrong.
I understand.
Um,
As
I
someone who works on niche MMOs, I understand.
I I really enjoyed this game and I played it a lot. I couldn't tell you anything about it because this was so long ago, but
Fair.
it's called Last Chaos.
Oh, I've never heard of it.
Yeah,
That's cool
nobody
though.
has.
Yeah. I mean, I feel like that's the draw. Yeah.
But I was like, I want to play this. Like the visuals are calling to me. And
Mhm.
yeah, that's what I played. But I never played the story in an MMO. MMOs to me were always about this concept of like
Mm.
playing alone together. And so
Mhm.
going into
Mhm.
14, I had a friend who was like, Shadowbringers and Endwalker are the best Final Fantasy stories. And I was like, yeah, okay.
You're like, "Uh-huh,
It's an
sure."
MMO. It's an MMO. Like
Like, how good could it be?
yeah. I am so glad that I was wrong, but also it was so ignorant of me to think that the story wouldn't blow my mind because it did, and I'm so excited for you to get to Endwalker. Because even Shadowbringers, like, what did you think of Shadowbringers?
I thought it was really well done. I mean, I'm a sucker for I don't wanna spoil it, but there's a mechanic at the very beginning that's, like, just one of my favorite storytelling things where you're just immediately invested because everything to your character is just as new to them narratively as it is to you seeing it for the first time. You know, you're not assuming the mantle of somebody who's lived on this continent for a while. Like, when you start an ARR, like, you're taken to a very new spot, and things are like inverted, things are confusing. And so there's immediate buy-in and you're like,
Mhm.
whoa, like I need to know more. And so then you want to know more, you want to investigate with your character, which is a complete departure from how they had it before. It was like, you know, this big problem, this big bad you had to defeat. And then
Mhm.
all of a sudden, surprise, start over, good luck. So I've really been loving Shadowbringers. I think all the narrative beats are paced pretty well. I'd say the pacing is probably the best of all the stories, of
Mm,
all the expansions, in my opinion. And kind of like we've been talking about, the payoff for all the knowledge that you've built up, all the narrative elements that you're trying to keep track of, all these characters who've like appeared and then withdrawn, it starts to pay off in spades. It's like a massive, massive payoff. And it's so much fun. And visually, you can tell they were like really playing with themes of like opulence and like just kind of
mhm,
how do you make something familiar look foreign again. Absolutely
mm.
beautifully done.
And there's, to just add to that, there's two characters in that expansion that are so unbelievably well written. The
Mm-hmm.
dialogue
That's
is
true.
poetry. It
Yeah.
is, it's funny because one of the, oh, I can show you this video now. One of the voice actors for one of the characters that I'm talking about,
Yeah.
um, said they were in an interview, and he was kind of talking about all the characters that he has voiced and also live acted as, and he got to that particular character, and I won't spoil it just in case, but he was like, oh my goodness, I know how beloved this character is in the Final Fantasy
Mm-hmm.
community. um but also he's written in such a way that it's Shakespearean, and I was watching that interview, I was like, yeah, I agree. And that's not really something that is spoken about a lot
Yeah.
in video games, because I think maybe for folks who don't play games, or maybe who don't play narrative games, um I feel like maybe there's this perception of like, you know, I'm trying to think though. Even late '90s, like there were games that were doing narrative really well, but
Mm-hmm.
I think what I'm trying to say is there's this perception that you know, video games are all about the mechanics, and I could not disagree more. And so it's so beautiful seeing, like, getting to watch interviews of writers, or
Mm-hmm.
localization, or production, or like any facet of what goes into making a game and bringing a story to life. And I love it. But yeah, the writers, oh, the dialogue writing is so so good. That's all I can say. I might just grab a quote actually.
You should. I
Um
can, while you're grabbing it, I can talk a little bit about my impression of that as well.
yeah.
Because I will be honest, when I localize games, my strength is in system and skill strings, which
Mm,
has a surprising amount of ambiguity when you're trying to translate from one language to another,
mm,
but they're very systematic. And I'm not great at localizing dialogue. It's something I've been actively working on for the past 3 years.
mm,
Part of the struggle is you need to keep the strings the same length. Um, if there's character animation during a cutscene, you need to make sure it will continue to make sense from one language to another.
mm.
So a character gesturing really broadly and doing like a really sweeping gesture still needs to make sense when you're translating it over.
Oh, I didn't
Unless
even think of that.
unless you have, big budget money and you can be
Yeah.
like, tailor it a little bit more, which I wouldn't be surprised if Square Enix does that. But in my case anyways, you have a lot of constraints you're working with when you're trying to localize dialogue, in addition to making sure that the tone and the character inflection is consistent um, when you're working with a narrative that you have no control over. You are handed this narrative, you have to make it work. You cannot make narrative changes, you can't suggest anything to the writer. Um, and in that regard, it gives me even more respect for what the localization team at Square Enix has done with all these characters, because it is like it's flawless characterization start to finish. There were hardly any parts where I was like, this feels kind of out of character.
Mm,
Feels like they were rushing. It feels like they don't really know who this character is. And maybe that's the benefit to them getting to work on this team getting to work on this story for so long. But it's just another reason why I think it's just beautifully done. And I'm continued to be impressed with it because they are working under so many constraints to get
mhm,
everything to match, and not only match, but sound like poetry, because you can feed anything through, machine translation these days and, get a sentence that comes out word for word identically meaning, but that doesn't mean it sounds as beautiful and fluid as the voice actors can make it. And voice actors are just magic in general.
Oh,
So,
agreed. Yeah.
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 Yeah. So,
I mean, all game dev is magic.
yeah, that's true. That's true.
Like everything, just to your point, has to come together so perfectly. And it's, well, not perfectly, maybe not that much pressure. Nothing's perfect. But
Yeah.
yeah, like everything just has to come together. And I would argue everything contributes to narrative. So
Absolutely. Yeah. Oh, yeah, absolutely. What quote did you end up grabbing? Do you have it?
I have one in mind, but I can't find it.
That's the worst feeling. I know
It
what you
sucks.
mean. Yeah.
There's, I mean, people are quoting like really wholesome wholesome quotes, but they're like one-liners, which is fine. But
That just
let's
speaks to
see.
the magic of the writing that we're like discussing these like direct quotes. Like that's how powerful it was to us.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Let's see. Let's see if I can find one. The one that the actor called out. Here we go. Actually, I found it. And then I would ask them about their next adventure, and if they should wish me to be a part of it, oh, how happy it would make me. Together we would travel the lands and cross the seas and take to the skies upon the eternal wind. My heart simply swells to imagine it.
Wow.
It's really good. There's others that are huge spoilers that I don't want to to call out. Let's see if I can find another one that's kind of ambiguous. I was afraid to do anything more than watch for fear of making things even worse, but no longer. After all, the path I once walked is now yours to finish. Oh, that's chills. That's so and in context too. You're like, oh.
Yeah. Oh yeah. The one that stood out to me was the one where it was like joy and sorrow walk hand in hand. And they just toss that out there. It's just a line. And I was sitting there holding my head in my hands like, ah, this is so beautiful. And it's just one of many things that they just say to each other.
Yep. It's so good.
Yeah. I didn't expect to be as taken with this game as I was, and here I am.
I love it.
Am.
I love it. Like I could keep going and just keep reading these. I found some Endwalker ones that are really good too. Or like, oh, I can't tell you these just yet.
Not yet. Give me
not
another
yet.
couple. Give me another 50 hours and we can circle back around.
I mean, you'll finish next week, so you know.
That's true. Honestly, I wouldn't be surprised.
I love it. What are some games that you want to play this year?
Ooh, what games do I want to play? There's so many. Like I just thought of like 4 at once. I'm trying to pick one.
We can talk about all 4. Maybe not at length, but we can talk about
them. I was just gifted a copy of Fields of Mystria. It was a very sweet gift. I am a sucker for Stardew Valley. I have it on every platform there is. I have put hundreds of hours into it. I'm an Animal Crossing girly. So Fields of Mystria is like, I'm just super excited to play that one.
I love that.
The fact that it's ongoing and still kind of in development is a bit of a draw for me, actually, because it gives me hope that they'll take feedback from the player base and like incorporating it in. It feels a little bit more dynamic and fresh instead of like getting a fully released game. So I'm hopeful. I'm excited for that one.
What were the other 3?
Gosh, I have also been playing Dave the Diver. I haven't finished it.
Yeah.
I haven't finished it, but I would like to finish that one. That one.
What's it about? Because for context, I go into every game not knowing anything, so I know games based off of like the key art.
Like, yeah, no,
it's because I like to be surprised.
No, it's good. It's cute. It's a vibe, is how I would describe it in one word.
I'm into it.
What genre is it? It is all the genres. There is a mini game for every genre. That. There's a mini game where you're farming. There's a mini game where you are like doing like DDR is like a dance idol. There's a mini game where you're like repairing and crafting stuff. You are running a restaurant. It's a resource management sim. You're swimming. You're catching fish. You are investigating a sunken civilization. What genre is it? I
I
don't know.
love
It's
it.
all of them. If there's anything you like, you will find it in Dave the Diver. And there's not a lot of time pressure, which is something I appreciate in my
Mm.
games as somebody who now has to like start and stop and pause and go back to work and not stay up too late. But it's charming. I would say that one is also localized decently well.
Mm.
The cast of characters is probably my favorite part. So if it at all interests you, if you see the key art and
Ooh.
you're like, I could get behind this, that was probably one of my favorite games of 2024. Dave the Diver.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay, I feel like a couple of other people were like, yeah, you gotta play this. It's
Yeah.
there on the list. I don't have infinite time, but
I
that does
feel you.
sound pretty great. It sounds
It's
like a
good.
love letter to games, actually, is what it sounds like to me.
You can tell they made it and they had a great time. They were just like, what do we want
I
to put in
love
there?
that.
Let's add a mini game for it. There's like a Tamagotchi in there. Yeah, like it's
Oh, I'm sold.
what genre
That's
is
all I
it?
need.
It is video game. That's what it is. It is
Yeah, I
video
love that.
game, the genre.
I love this so much.
Yeah.
What
Yeah.
else?
For work, my work has us play a different game every month. And our February game is Balatro. I'm not sure how to pronounce it.
Oh, I want to play it. So I recently learned about the pronunciation, and it is Balatro, and I have been
Okay.
pronouncing it incorrectly. I have been calling it Balatro for
Same.
a year.
Yeah. The card game of which I live in fear because all of the coworkers who have started playing it have said it consumes them. They love it.
I've heard.
I live in fear. And then I found out it's on mobile and I was like,
Yeah.
I cannot have it with me at all times. There needs to be some friction between me and this game. So I might pick it up on Steam in anticipation for our video game of the month discussion.
Yeah, I love that.
Yeah.
I am horrified of picking up Balatro because I know that it will consume my life. Like if
Mhm.
everyone is this addicted to that game, I'm sure that it will consume my life. I'm also not allowed to get it on mobile, but I will get it on Switch so that I can play it like a goblin.
I think that's wise. A lot of people I know have it on like a Steam Deck, which seems like the
Mhm.
ideal portability, but also you can't leave the house with it,
Yeah.
sort of
Yeah.
thing.
Yeah. That's pretty good.
The self-preservation will be there built in.
I don't have a Steam Deck, but I would find a way to bring a Steam Deck outside somewhere.
Understandable. I probably would too. That's why I don't own one.
Yeah, that's reasonable. I want one pretty bad.
They look pretty good.
They do, and you can play Final Fantasy XIV on them.
You
This is
can.
why
One of
I'm
my
not allowed
friends
to
is
have one.
setting it up.
Yeah, I'm not allowed
Yes.
to have it.
It would consume you. We would have to forcibly take it.
Yeah,
I am sorry.
I agree. Yes.
It's good to know our limits though.
Yeah, agreed. What was the fourth game?
I can't think of it anymore. I forgot because I just started thinking about Balatro,
It takes
and
over
Dave the
everything.
Diver. Yeah, no, it's already consumed me, and I haven't even started it. Oh, I have gotten back into it. I do try to avoid gotchas because that is also something I work on at work. But I want to get back into Wuthering Waves.
Oh, yeah. I've heard that the music's really good in Wuthering Waves.
I enjoy it. I enjoy it a lot. I was just kind of standing around in one region when I re-downloaded the game last week and just listening.
Nice.
To me, that's the sign of a great soundtrack.
Oh, yeah.
So those are like the four that just came immediately to mind. I'm
I
sure
love
there
it.
are more. I'm sure I'm missing a couple. But what about you? What are you looking forward to?
I love it. Besides Balatro, which I'm very excited about, I was laughing at this the other day because I'm actively playing Dark Souls 1 on stream. I really want to play Infinity Nikki. So it's just this dichotomy of two
Yeah.
completely different games where it's like, yes, FromSoft game. And apparently,
beautiful game. Yes.
but apparently, I don't know how true this is, but people have joked around that it's a fashion Souls game and that it's very Souls-like.
That's what I
see
hear.
some Yaz in the chat.
One of my coworkers picked it up and has been slowly trying to convince our whole team to play it. And that's how they described it. Yeah.
I really want to play it.
I've heard only good things. Yeah.
Growing up, I love dress-up games. I talk about video game fashion, I think, a fair bit. Maybe not on the show. Maybe I should talk about video game fashion more on the show. But
you should. A good topic.
Yeah. I recently watched a GDC talk that was all about video game fashion and using video game fashion as a marketing tool, which I thought was really interesting.
Mhm.
Because I remember, being younger and Final Fantasy X-2 coming out, which was, I think people at the time were calling it like a very Charlie's Angels like cast. But it like the whole mechanic in that game is you have dress spheres and
Mm.
use dress spheres to change what you're dressed up as, and that also changes your job. And that to
Ah,
me, I never had a PlayStation growing up, but my god, I wanted to play Final Fantasy X-2 so badly because of the
yeah.
fashion. I was like, I don't care what this game's about, I just want to play this for the fashion.
I mean, that sounds like exactly my motivation as well. You know,
Yeah.
me and my Final Fantasy XIV glams
Yes.
is like half the
Yes.
reason I play the game. So,
Of course,
game
absolutely. Same.
fashion. Yeah, it's
Same.
peak. It's self-expression. It is
Exactly.
it's almost like philosophical. It's like how can you occupy a space expressing yourself and making it reflect your inner world? It's through fashion.
Mm. Yeah, and how
That's the
can you
argument we'll go with.
yeah, I agree, but also how can you, I don't know, pressure test a different style for yourself, or pressure test a different hair color or a different
Mm.
makeup style or whatever. And
Mhm.
a video game character is such a great avatar to use for that, to the extent that you're able to customize them. But yeah, very excited. I really want to play Infinity Nikki. Um, I played a few games that I feel like are in the same conversation as this next game that I want to play, which were A Thousand Times Resist, which I
Mm.
loved. That game. I can't stop thinking about that game. Um, Lorelei and the Laser Eyes. Um,
Mm.
I feel like they were all kind of spoken together with Pacific Drive, and I haven't played Pacific Drive yet, and I really, really want to.
Yeah.
So I got Infinity Nikki, Pacific Drive. Why don't I just open up my
Your
backlog
collage.
my
Yeah.
collage backlog. There's so many games. I feel like I have fallen into this terrible trap of, ooh, this game's on discount, I'm gonna buy
Ah,
it.
yes.
Um, and I do try to buy indie games at full price for the most part.
Mhm.
But I do like I have purchased some games on discount that I'm like, oh, I haven't started this yet. Um,
That was me
actually,
in, like, Farming Simulator. I think I have, like, Goat Simulator in my library, and I'm like,
nice.
"Why are you here?"
Just
So,
hanging
I
out.
respect that. Yeah.
um, I feel like some people in the chat might be very disappointed about this one. I have not played Final Fantasy IX yet, and that's a lot of
Oh,
people's favorite.
yeah, I hear about that one all
So
the time.
I do want to
Perhaps it
play
is
that.
time.
Oh no, yeah, yeah, I know. Sorry,
Oh,
chat.
no.
I also really want to play Return of the Obra Dinn, which is
Mm.
it's
Mhm.
so the visuals are so stunning for that game. I don't know much about it, but it's a first person. Um, I don't know. I don't know. It has just been recommended to me a lot. Yeah, okay, everyone agrees. Got to play that. Um, there's so many games on here. I'll maybe leave it at that, and then obviously after I finish Dark Souls 1, yeah, Pacific Drive. After I finish Dark Souls 1, I mean I'll play 2 and 3, but there's so many games. I need to play Night in the Woods still.
Oh, I
Uh
love that game. That was our
everyone
October game at work.
Yeah. Oh, nice. I didn't know that, but everyone seems
I
to
finished
really
that
love
one.
it. You enjoyed it?
It's oh my gosh, I it feels kind of like a Diablo Cody movie. I don't know if you're familiar with that writer. She did
No.
or I'm not sure what pronouns they use. They did, Juno,
Oh,
and,
okay, yeah.
it feels like that.
Cool.
It feels like that genre of movie where you go in and there's, like, um, a really, really well carved out protagonist, and the setting is as much a character in the game as it is the main character.
Mm,
Um, you would really enjoy it. It's really good.
so I have been told.
Mhm.
I'm really excited for that one. And also, I don't know anything about mouthwashing besides the fact that it is a horrifying horror game and that I should play it. That is all I have been told. So I'm
You
excited.
know, I've seen some fan art for it, and I know if there's fan art, that means there's a community that loves it, and I'm
Yeah.
on board.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I love that. Um, And actually, I can shout out one of my favorite games. If anyone who's here or watching enjoys Metroidvanias, Ender Lilies is one of my favorite Metroidvanias that I feel like not a
Ooh.
lot of people know about. Um, and there's a sequel that's currently, I think, in early access called Ender Magnolia. So I'm waiting for that to come to Switch, and I'm so excited because oh, Ender Lilies was so good. The story was told in a way where you don't know anything at the very beginning. You just know
Mm.
that you have this like shadowy protector, and the battle mechanic in the game is you as the character, you don't fight. You have up to 3 kind of like shadowy protectors that you can bring out to fight for you. You do control them in battle. But like the playable character is not actually the one fighting, which is really interesting. And so it's kind of this concept of
Mm.
like different guardians that you can bring out and then control. But the story is told in a way where you don't know anything at the very beginning. And so you're collecting little pieces of lore, which is so brilliant, I think, for Metroidvania, because it really encourages you to explore every nook and cranny. That's the whole
Mhm.
point of a
Mhm.
Metroidvania. Speaking of Hollow Knight, one of my favorite games of all time. Hoping Silk Song comes out this year. Obviously, we'll let Team Cherry cook because
Yeah.
it's going to be amazing regardless. But yeah, I have a lot that I'm looking forward to and that I really want to play.
I mean,
Clearly.
it's gonna be a good year. Yeah.
Yeah.
You will be eating well regardless of which one you pick
Exactly.
first. Yeah.
Exactly. That's it. um, we are almost at time, also.
Yeah.
I love
Feels
that we
like
have emote only chats. So this is very funny. Um,
yeah.
what is maybe we end off with what's your comfort game? Do you have like one comfort game that you are gravitating towards?
Yes. Yes. So I think today's the last day actually to buy it at a discount or maybe tomorrow. But Animal Crossing Pocket Camp has been my refuge
Oh,
over the past weeks or so. It was previously a live service game by Nintendo. It's mobile. Um, and then they were like, "Hey, we've been doing this for 7 years. We're going to take it offline." And it's like they removed all the social aspects of it, but you can design your little campsite. You can have a little buddy follow you around while you pick fruit. You can farm flowers, and it's it's a game I've been playing for all the years it's been out. And now I go back and I chill with my little Animal Crossing buddies that hang out in my pocket instead of on the Switch.
mm,
Uh, so that's the comfort game right now. Yeah,
I love that. Animal Crossing is also my comfort game.
I mean it's solid.
It's so good.
Nintendo did great with New Horizons as
It's
well.
so good. I spent a
Yeah.
lot of time playing Animal Crossing over the holidays. It's like this is just nice.
Yeah. They're really good at helping you just kind of sit in the moment and enjoy the
Mm-hmm.
scenery. Whether it's scenery you're putting together yourself or it's you're just enjoying the nature that they have provided for you. Nothing beats it.
Yeah, it's so good. The only thing I want is Animal Crossing one type villagers because they
The
were so
snarks.
sassy and there was so much
Yeah.
drama and it was so funny.
Yes.
That's the only thing I would like included.
I
Not that like me saying that is going to change anything, but
No, I agree. I think it would be really nice to have a little bit more distinct personality brought back instead of like feeling as though the 6, I think it's 6, maybe it's 8 personality types, like no matter who you talk to, you're going to get the same response within
Mhm.
that grouping. Be nice to get a little bit more individuality in our little villager friends. That would be really, really helpful.
I agree. Hard to do when you have so many, and I understand like how big of an ask that is on the
Yeah.
writing side, on the implementation side, like that is a
Yeah.
very big ask.
All the
Um,
trigger conditions. Yeah.
I can see your experience like flashing before.
Well, it's because if we were asked to do that, you'd have to trigger all of the conversations, and we would spend a lot of time doing it. Like, sometimes we go back and we ask for cheats to be like, "Hey, can you just make this
Mm.
situation happen, please? Can we have a list of everything?" And sometimes you don't get that. So you have to get good and you have to play and you you struggle a little bit.
Whoop.
Yeah. But yeah, I'm sorry, I couldn't help the horror flash
I
before
love
my
it.
eyes at thinking
I
about
love
the
it.
process behind it. Yeah.
I love it. Um, we're gonna open up chat in a minute or two, but for now, because this is our first time doing this on video, I'm gonna do a little wrap up. And if anyone has like questions or anything, we can edit those in. But Blue, thank you so much for being here. Thank you so much for being. I mean, we spoke about this ages ago when I was like, oh, the podcast is going to be changing to a video show, and you so
Yeah.
graciously were like, yeah, I'll be your first video guest. So thank you so much.
That is not how the conversation went. You were like, "Would you like to do it?" And I had to scream for like 15 seconds in excitement because I'm so honored to be here. I'm always a fan of your work, and I'm really glad to be participating in it with you, and honored that you think of me to join in.
Well, it's still very gracious. And I appreciate that you're here. For everyone in chat, or if you're watching the VOD or if you're listening, thank you so much for being here. I promise to talk a little bit about the show's changes. So here we are towards the end. So, firstly, as you can see, wow, we have video. What you could expect for this year. So the show actually it started in late 2022. So it's just over 2 years old now. But yeah, so I'm constantly thinking about like how can we make things 1% better, or different, or try new things. So for this year, you can expect more episodes with game devs, games media, content creators. We'll be bringing people on to talk about games. We'll have less episodes focusing on a single game for a few reasons. Firstly, I can't keep up. I can't play
Real.
games fast enough, like to realistically to be able to have the time to be thoughtful about putting an episode together. But secondly, one of my big learnings was that it is a really big ask to ask people to um, come prepared, even if they're friends, like to come prepared with like narrative themes and potentially like rewatching cutscenes and stuff like that. It's just a big ask to have people come on and analyze games beforehand and then analyze games on the show. So Blue, you were a part of a couple of those episodes, so thank you for all of that.
Yeah.
Because it's a ton of prep work for those episodes. But again, I'm so grateful for everyone who has been a guest on those episodes because they're super fun. We're still going to be doing narrative deep dives. Those episodes are not going to be going away. We're going to figure out kind of what the blend and mix is going to be, but it has to be a sustainable mix. So we'll have the two segments. We'll have this one where we bring on someone and we just chat about games we're playing, games we want to play, games we love, and then we'll still have the segment where we analyze narratives kind of a little bit deeper. But that's all for today. I'll open up chat in a second, but thank you so much for being here and for listening. If you have to run, if you have any feedback, send it our way. If you're not following us or subscribed, please do so that you don't miss a future episode. And I guess since we're now also live streaming it on Twitch, don't forget to come and follow on Twitch. Thank you so much again. And I'm going to go ahead and open up chat. I think this should work. All right, emote only chat has been disabled. This might be in the VOD.
Oh,
Here we go. Let's go. Paul, welcome in.
nice.
So, okay, I'm going to read this. Oh, I can show it. I don't know if I want to show people's usernames actually first.
I love it. Gotta claim your territory. So important.
Yeah, that's excellent. I'm going to read this out. Maybe I won't show people's names in case you don't want to be in the VOD, so just to respect your privacy. But so I'm going to be so interested in what you think of the music in Oberdin. That's really what I've been waiting to say. I'm sorry for keeping everyone in emote only chat. I get distracted really easily. So emote only chat was needed, but I did see everyone's very cute and wonderful emotes while we were while we were actually recording. I'm really excited for Oberdin. The only thing that I know about it is that it looks stylish as hell, and I'm really excited to play it. And I think that it was solo developed. I'm probably wrong. Nothing is ever seldom are games truly solo developed. But I'm really excited about that. Yeah, I mean I could talk about game music forever. Like, I should just have my own segment where I'm like, let's talk about game music.
You should. I would tune in.
That could be fun, actually, just analyzing. I've thought about it. I'm like, I could do like a solo episode every month and we analyze game music. I would just talk about Nier
Absolutely.
Automata. This is the problem. I would just be like, okay, everybody. So we were supposed to talk about this game. However, we're going to talk about Nier Automata and why it does music design really well.
But would anyone complain? No. It's your show. You should do it. It sounds very exciting.
Maybe I will. That's now that I've said it out loud. I'm like, uh-oh. No, okay, all right.
You have spoken it into existence.
There
yes.
we go. I love it. I am very excited for Oberdin, so I will keep you posted. I like. There's so much good video game music. There's just so much good video game music, and I really love that we're seeing so many more live performances of video game music. That is so cool to me because growing up, I mean, I was a violinist in a youth orchestra, and we were playing classical music, which is fine. I love so much orchestrated music, but it's really special when you get to go to a live show where you have an orchestra and you're like, I used to sit on that chair. I didn't play video game music. I wish that I played video game music when I was actively performing as a violinist. So yeah, that is one thing that I feel like over the last couple of years has become a much bigger scene, which is very cool. So big fan. Anyway, that was off topic. I'm excited for Oberdin. If anyone has questions, thoughts, comments, or not, that's okay too. One of the best parts of the Game Awards was the live orchestra. They did such a great job. Oh,
did I
so
tell
good.
you one of my friends was in it?
No.
Was an orchestra? Yeah.
Wait, what?
Yeah, a couple years ago, not the most recent one, but I have a friend who, like, I was first introduced to the concept of the Game Awards because she was like, I'm playing in it. Have you heard of it? And I was like, no, but that's amazing.
That's so cool.
Yeah, they work so hard. They're all stellar. So yeah, they do a great job.
Yeah. I wish we had more music. That's my only thing. People will always get that complaint from me though. I'm like, yeah, double the music time. I want the music.
Oh, yeah.
But yeah, that's cool. Actually, that's the Game Awards that I almost went to because I worked on a game that was nominated and I was like, should I go? And I don't have many regrets in life, but I wish I went to the Game Awards because when you're nominated and you don't go, I don't know. It's this weird headspace of like, could have been there. We didn't win, but it was an incredible honor to be nominated. So anyway. Yeah. I could have seen your friend's performance live and didn't. I'm so sorry.
It's okay. Hers was several years ago, so I don't think you would have seen her.
Oh, okay.
You probably would have seen some of my teammates there, which would also have been very funny. But, it's okay.
I love it. Happen. Maybe one day. Yeah. Maybe one day.
Someday.
Yeah, that's it. We'll both work on a game that'll be nominated in the future, and then we'll go.
Yeah, I love this plan.
Done. So it's as easy as that. Definitely not.
Hey, we've spoken it into existence. It's like how you've spoken your Nier episode into existence.
Yeah, that's it. You know what? Maybe I will. Maybe I will do just.
I think you should. I think it is not maybe.
My obligation now.
Yes.
Has anyone in chat played Nier Automata? And if so, how did you enjoy the music? Because that soundtrack. Sorry, this is now just becoming a music episode, but there's some really special soundtracks that I think people know without having played the game. So, for example, you brought up Octopath Traveller. I've listened. I mean, to be fair, you sent me the music, but I did listen to a lot of it, and I ended up playing a lot of other Octopath Traveller music. But there's some games like that, and I think Nier Automata is one of them where people know the music and they maybe have not played the game, which is really cool. Yeah, I love it. Yes, and much. Nier's music is definitely something incredible. Yeah, so special. They created their own language based off of what they predict a human language might sound like in the future. It's just extraordinary. I need to get you to play Nier.
I need to play it. Yeah, that's all. Like, I feel like it's one of those things where there are certain media forms that you need to consume to like get to know a friend better, and like because it's just so central to them and their formative years or their self or the way that they perceive the world. And I like it makes me more excited to play it because it's like getting to know a game, but also getting to know a person.
Ooh, pressure's on.
I mean, it's also like a stellar game, so.
Oh, so good. Sorry, I was laughing earlier at this comment. I'd be singing Pascal in my kitchen 2 years later. Me too, though. Me too. Oh, so good. Do you have a favorite video game OST?
I'd have to think.
Maybe not
about
favorite,
it.
but like one that sticks out.
Like one that, yes.
Final
Transistor.
Fantasy XIV. Sorry.
No.
sorry.
I mean,
sorry, bad timing.
listen,
I didn't mean to interrupt you.
I do listen to it, which is, I don't listen to a whole lot of music, but if I'm listening to a soundtrack, I loved it. No, mine were Transistor and Bastion. Both Darren Korb composed stuff. Yeah. Yeah, those, man, I played Bastion like nonstop. I downloaded the game on my iPhone 4. Didn't stop playing it until I beat it. Like I stayed up overnight. I stayed up all night playing that game.
That's
and
special.
It was just like imprinted into my consciousness. I love the music in Bastion. And then to find out like Supergiant Games made more, they made Transistor. I played that one and then got to hear more of Ashley Barrett singing. My gosh, just like pure magic in my ears. It was beautiful.
Okay, I'm gonna listen to that tonight. We have
There's
Bastion in the comments.
Yeah, Bastion. I would say Bastion is really good, like soundtrack wise, because there's like themes that are introduced, and then at the end they overlap like 4 of them together into the final song.
Yeah. Video game music
and so
design,
it's like,
my beloved.
Yes, and so there's these 2 characters, and they're singing their own themes, and then when you put them together, it's a call and response, sort of. Like it's so cool. And then in Transistor, the main like the character like that Ashley Barrett sings for is like a singer, so they get to put her on full display, and they start to play with how the sound design fits into the game because there are songs that are in 5/8 time. Like it's supposed to disorient you and make you feel really uncomfortable, and you can't predict what's going to happen next because things have gotten corrupted. And so like I listened to that one. That was my top played song on Spotify in like 2019 because that was when I discovered Transistor. That 5/8 song. I don't remember what it's called. I think it's called In Circles.
I'll listen to it after this. You said 5/8 and my musician brain went, oh.
It's so bizarre. Yeah, it's so uncomfortable. It's like a really lilting, like you're expecting the next verse to come and then you're like, when is she going to sing? It's very uncomfortable, and it is designed to disorient you when you're playing
it. I love that. We have a couple in the chat. As a drummer, 5/8 always makes me feel uncomfortable.
Yes.
And then we have the opposite end of the spectrum. 5/8 is an adventure to listen to.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, definitely. There's Final Fantasy VIII's battle theme is in 5/4. And I feel like if I was a percussionist or if I was performing in 5/4 or 5/8, I would just have to count to myself. I would need an in-ear monitor to count me because it's so disorienting.
Yeah, no, it's good. It's really emo. I really like it.
Oh, I love it. Yeah. But that's also a great example of how music supports the narrative, because if the whole point of that scene or level or whatever it is in the game, maybe I should play it, is to disorient you, 5/8 is an excellent way to do that.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I remember getting to that level and I was just like, what the fuck? Like, what am I supposed to do here? I mean, can't do this.
I get it.
Yeah.
I get it. I love it.
Yeah.
All right, everybody. We're going to start wrapping up. Do you have anything else for us, Blue?
Thank you for letting me wax poetic about special interests and games. I'm
always
super excited to be on your show, and I'm really excited to see what you continue to do with it.
Thank you. Thanks for coming on. I'm honored. Like we spoke about this so long ago. like, oh, it's moving to video. And I'm so grateful that you're our first video guest. And it's
It's
our
an
first
honor.
time streaming it live. So I'm going to watch the VOD
Yeah.
and see how it went. I guess.
Yeah.
Love it. Thank you so much. Thank you to everyone who's here. I don't think that I can raid from here. Maybe I can. Let's see.
Thank you, everybody,
Thank
for
you.
joining.
Thank you. Thank you for joining. If you have feedback, also would love feedback for how this went. I'll be watching the VOD before it goes up on YouTube. But thank you for the vibes. I might be able to raid, maybe. I don't know. Let's try to set it up. I should be able to. We didn't talk about this, but I do really want to play Metaphor Refantasio.
Yeah.
And based off of a recommendation from a friend who has like 11 out of 10 game recommendations. They might be in chat, but I will not call them out.
You know who you are.
You know who you are. I'll send us over to Jess Capricorn, who is streaming Metaphor Refantasio. Let me get the raid set up. I think this is gonna work. Oh, it is. Oh, it's gonna work. We're gonna raid Jess, and then I'll end stream right after I hit raid. Thank you, everybody. Thank you so much for hanging out. Thank you for your questions, comments. What else? Let's go. I hope you have a lovely morning, afternoon, evening, night. Do something nice for yourself if you can today and this week. Do something nice for a loved one. If you can, do something nice for a stranger. And we'll see you next time. Thanks for tuning in. I'm going to send us over and we'll see you. Bye.